Hello everybody and welcome back to Angie B Cards and Crafts. So today I'm going to have a look at what you can do with MDF tags. So I don't know if you're like me, but I have a collection of different tags made of MDF, varying in sizes. I mean, you can see there's two different heart sizes. And sometimes I puzzle about what I'm going to do with them. Things like door hangers get used really quickly. They're really easy to do in my mind. But then you get shapes like this that are maybe not quite so obvious. So what I've been doing is playing with my gel plate and MDF. So you can see these are just MDF tags. And I've used my gel plate and I'm hoping that you can see the different colours and patterns that are on there. So this video is going to be about just getting the paint onto the gel plate. It's not going to be about how we finish that off. I'll do that in a follow-on video. So I don't know if any of you managed to catch the Crafting Together with All Brands Facebook Live by Seth Apter. If you haven't, please go on to Facebook and have a look at Crafting Together with All Brands and look up the Seth Apter one, because he did work using the gel plate and he really did get the message across about how you can use your gel plate and build up layers, probably far better than I ever will be able to. But what I'm going to do is use a range of acrylics. I'm going to stick just with acrylics, but you can see I've got acrylics from all different brands. This is a cheap one that came from the works. It's Crawford and Black. Then I've got some Dylusions ones. I've got some Dina Wakley ones. I've got Studio Acrylics. I like this one because it's a transparent one, so it's a much thinner layer. These ones, I'm not sure where I got them from. I think they're possibly from the works as well. Oops. I've got some of these wonderful Sennelier ones. Some Reeves Studio Acrylics in white, but that one's opaque. So I've got a whole range of different acrylics, and I never worry about what brand I'm using or whether it's a thick one or a thin one. I just put it on. Some people are much more particular about what they use, but that's not my style. And I'm actually just going to lift over and I'm going to use this one as well. This one is Jane Davenport, and that colour just caught my eye. I'm only going to use one stencil doing this. This one is actually Leonie Pujol stencil, and it's a range, I believe there's 4 in this one, and I just love it. I just think it's a little bit abstract, a little bit funky, and I enjoy using it, and it's easy to use. You can see it's well loved. I'm going to use a couple of different stamps. So I've got here, this is actually a Seth Apter stamp from Paper Artsy, and it's my current favourite stamp to use as a background stamp. And then I've got these two, which are both from All and Create. So I've limited what bits I put out, just so that I don't waste time looking at what I want to put on it. So these are the two samples, but there's no guarantee that what you're going to see is going to end up like this, because it depends on what colours I put down in what order and what I do in between, and it's never the same. I mean, they were both done on the same plate, and you can see there's a hint of the same colours, but they look very different. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to work on the heart, because I just think it's nice. First thing I'm going to do is get my first layer of paint on, and I think I'm going to go with something bright. I shall go with the yellow. Oh, I've not mentioned my Brayer yet. So a Brayer is the best way I've found to apply acrylic paint to a gel press to get a smooth surface. You can use your hand, you can use a credit card, you can apply it with a brush. The Brayer, as you can see, my Brayer isn't clean. I've said this before on videos where I've used the gel press. I clean it occasionally, but it's rarely clean. I like the effect of the different divots, but I'm not as keen on brush strokes, so I don't use brush strokes. This is just a small one. I do have a range of larger ones. This one is just my favourite, so I tend to use it. And just to remind you, these two little things here are so that when you lay it down, none of your roller is touching your surface. which is a clever little piece. And off to the side I've also got a small art journal, and that is so that I can run off any excess paint. I'm probably not going to need my palette knife, but I have it around just in case. Okay, so we will start with the yellow. That's what I said, wasn't it? As you can see, I don't start from a clean plate. I start with whatever is currently on the plate and add to it. If you want to have specific colours, that's entirely your choice. Please feel free to clean your plate. I don't, you can tell. I mean, this one's only a couple of weeks old and it's already got quite a few layers on it. So you can see I'm not just rolling backwards and forwards like this. That doesn't work when you're putting acrylic onto a gel press. What you need to do is put it on and roll it and lift it off. And the reason you're doing that is you actually want the ink to cover the whole of your brayer, because that then will spread it out. Okay, so that one's been on probably a little bit longer than it should have, but we'll make do. I'm just going to plonk that on top, give it a bit of a press. I do like the noise that you get. So there is layer number one. So you can see I've already got, I'm hoping you can, some little bits of texture here where it's lifted the paint from layers lower down, and there's also some strike lines through from where I've put them on previously. So I'm not going to take anything else off that one. I forgot to roll my brayer, which is par for the course for me. Basically, these rolled off brayer pages are what make backgrounds on my art journal pages. Right, I'm going to go for green this time, so you can see I'm lifting it just to spread it about until I'm happy with how it is spread. You don't want a super thick layer because that's not going to transfer well to whatever medium you're putting the ink onto. You want to keep it relatively thin. Ideally you want to be able to see what is underneath it on the gel press. I do love, I don't know if you can hear it on the video, but there's a little sound. So again, we've got a little bit more colour, some little extra bits added on from the layers underneath. It's starting to look a bit more textural. Now, something that's worth considering is you can see the different colours are coming through here, and some are dark and some are light. If you just put light layers on, you're not going to notice the dark layers underneath, and vice versa. So what I'm going to do now is go in with a dark colour. So this is a violet acrylic paint. Now, I really like these Reeves paints. I got 4 or 5 of them and I really do like them. They're nice and thick and very opulent in the colour. Roll that off to the side. So this is what my page is looking like at the minute, and it just looks a little bit of a mess, but I will use it. Now, I'm not worried if this doesn't quite fit on. So you can see that's not gone on at this end at all. So the purple is more in the middle, and you're starting to get the different textures of the underlying paint. I'm now going to use this fabulous Jane Davenport paint. This is just, it's beautiful. I love this paint. It's a very matte paint, but I love it. I just, oh, gets me excited when I work with this one. So you can see there, we're starting to get a mixture of the dark and the light, and that contrast is what I'm liking. We'll just pop that on and lift it off again. So we've now got a little bit of light and dark going on. There's some more here, so I'm just going to repress. And there's no rules when you're doing this. So there we go. Oh, we've managed to pick up some of this nice yellow going on up here. That looks good. Okay, so we've done a lighter layer. We'll go slightly darker with a bit of magenta. This, oh, fuchsia, sorry. This is Dina Wakley. I do like both the Jane Davenport and the Dina Wakley paints because they have the lovely nozzle. And the advantage with the nozzle is that you can be really, really specific in where you put your paint, which is very, very helpful. So that's why I like them. So we'll pop that on. Now this time what I'm going to do is use my stencil because we've got a few layers on. So I'm going to put my stencil on and I'm just going to brayer over the top of it. So that's going to make sure that I get a good image. Now what I would normally do is spritz that and then run it off onto my journal page, but I'm not going to do that today just because I'm on video. So pop this in and you can start to see the beginnings of some of the layers coming through. I'm not sure if it shows up terribly well on the video. So what we can do actually is we can dip it again because I quite like that little patch at the bottom. Yes, I like that. So again, we've done a darkerish colour. We've gone for the fuchsia, so let's go light this time. Ooh, let's have some of this. This one is Sky, and again it's Dina Wakley. So this is what I was saying about the lovely little nib on it to direct your paint. Oh, wrong way up. So that's what happens if you do it the wrong way up, when you're not paying attention. So the colours are now starting to mix a little bit, which is fine. If you don't like them beginning to mix, you can clean off in between, or you can just wait for one layer to dry before you put on the next. There really aren't any specific rules around this. I'm now going to put a little bit of neon on. So this one is, oh, I put a bit too much out there. This is a Dylusions paint. Now, because I put a bit too much, I'm going to quite simply take that off, get my palette knife. This is why my palette knife sits at the side. And pop it back in the bottle. And this is one of the advantages of the Dina Wakley style of bottle, because that goes easily back in. The Dina Wakley bottle, these are the new ones. It does have the little hole, so you do get some directional control, but you do have the ease with which you can pop the lid off to put paints back in, as you have just seen. Right, let's pop you on there. Ooh. So you can see we're starting to get lots and lots of layers, and the colours are different in the different areas of the tag. It's quite a grungy look. If you're not into a grungy look, maybe this isn't the one for you. Or you can use more specific colours that are less grungy. I like this. I'm not going to rub this in too much because I want the green to really shine through. We will pop this in again. So you can see when I do this through, what I'm doing is lifting a layer of the paint off, but still leaving the pattern. It's quite a nice way, just using your stamps. If you your stencils, if you are precious about your stencils, you would have a bowl of warm soapy water at the side of you, and you just pop your stencils into there when you're finished. I'm not that fussy. Oh, you can really see that this time. So you can see the pattern very, very well there. And what I can then do is come over here and add a little bit more pattern, and come over here and add a little bit more. Sorry about that. So we're starting to really get quite a lot. And you can see, well, I don't know if you can actually, it's getting quite thick at this end, and it's starting to look raised up and a little bit here as well. And that is something that I like. Now what you can do in between the layers is, if you've got a heat gun, make sure you move your mat, your gel press over to one side, because you don't want to melt that. So I've just put my finger in it. Oh well. So I'm just going to dry this layer off a little bit, and that's just going to mean that the paint, when it hits the other paint on here, doesn't automatically mix in. What I'm also going to do in between, once this is dried off, is a little bit of background stamping. So what you can do now, because this is about building layers, we'll just pop the gel press to one side and we'll get those stamps that I showed you at the beginning. I'm going to use Stays On ink this time. I think it dries a little bit quicker. I do always have my VersaFine Clair, and now my Stays On. I've rediscovered Stays On recently. I've always had a Stays On ink pad, but I've never gotten to grips with it, but for some reason I've suddenly decided that I like stays on pads, so I always have both options available. One of the advantages with stays on is the fact that it dries quicker than the VersaFine Clair, and also it's really good for going onto shiny surfaces. So if you're stamping onto Yupo or onto a ceramic or onto glass, it's really, really helpful. Right, we'll use that one. Oh, I'm going to use this one. I love this one. I'm actually going to use this one on a plate because I want to get the whole image. I do absolutely love this stamp. So just little taps all over it. And then I'm just going to go off the side with it, but I am going to use, oops, I'm not worried about dropping it because this is just a layer. And I can go in. So you can see we're now starting to get another layer. And with the stays on, it dries really, really quickly. I'll give it a quick blast. I've discovered a little place to hang my heat tool via its little hoop. My lamp that's on my desk has got one of the twisty mechanisms to attach it where it pushes the plate together, and it's got a long piece of metal to aid with the traction when you're twisting. So I now hang my heat tool on that long piece of metal sticking out to help with holding the lamp in place. Why not use what's there? Okay, so we're going to go back to using the gel press now, and I think I'm going to go with a darker layer. So I'm going to use this, which is deep turquoise. Now you can see on here it's got a dried bit. I know some people peel them off and reuse them. I don't personally. That is just my choice. There's no reason that you can't. It's just not something that I've started doing. I'm sure at some point in the future I will use it, but that time has not yet happened. So because this has been left a while, there's actually more dry ink on the gel press as well. Okay, so I'll just show you what this looks like as well. So that's beginning to look a little bit more colourful. And I'm going to use this again. I'm just going to use part of it though. So you really are in control of what does and doesn't hit your page and what does and doesn't go on. So I'm going to put this roughly down the middle. So one half's going to get all blue, one half's going to get patterned blue. And it just means you'll be able to see the difference. Okay. Oh, I like that. I don't know if you can see that this is the half that's just had blue paint and this is the half that's had the stencil on, so you can actually see more of the black underneath. I think I'm going to put a little bit more on the solid side. There we go. Yes. Oh, and it's brought up some of the other layers, so you're starting to get other layers on top. And you can see this, it almost looks like peeled paint, because I suppose that's what it is, it's peeling off the gel press. But I love that. I love the texture that that gives. What I'm going to do is give that a quick blast because I want that layer to stay as is. I like that layer. Now I'm not going to do too many more layers because I'm beginning to like it. And what you can find is you keep going until you like it, because it's your personal preference as to how your piece looks, and I'm beginning to think this is looking rather nice. Now I haven't used any of the metallics on this one yet, so I'm going to, this time, just done quite a dark layer, so I'm going to do a light layer. This is the metallic pearl. As I say, these were just a cheap set. I'm sure it was from the works that I got them, and I do rather like them. I've not really used them that much. but when I do use them, I do kind of like them. They just add a little bit of something else that a standard acrylic paint doesn't. I tend to use the bronze one more than any other. Okay, whoop. So you can see that's added a nice white shimmery layer. There's a little bit there that I just want to try and get that little piece. Yes, and we'll get a little piece over here. So you can be quite specific when you're using the gel press. You don't have to go in every time for the whole thing. Oh, I am beginning to like that. We need more layers though. I think I need a green layer. Oh, I've just remembered. This has literally just arrived this morning from Arteza. It is called, I'm going to try and say it, even though I know it's hard, Phthalo Green. I think that's right. I could be completely wrong. I apologise if I am completely wrong. I'm going to use just a little bit of this. It is a gorgeous deep green. If I just show you, I just did a paint swatch of it earlier. This is the colour it is. I absolutely love it. So this is my very first time using it on a project. So you can see I'm not covering the whole page on this one. I just want to use it on some of it. I think the thing with gel plates, gel presses, is people sometimes think, oh my word, what am I meant to do with that? And the answer is, whatever you like. You do what works for you. As a crafter and an artist, you do what you like. If you like how something looks, that's all that matters. Don't start thinking about what other people want it to look like. This is your piece of work. I think we'll have a little bit of this orange again. Just a little touch of it though. So it really isn't, most of that's actually come off onto my rub off piece. I'm going to do that at a slight angle there. I'll get a little bit more on here. Yes. I'll get a bit down that edge. Oh, I do like that. Now one of the other things that you can do, which I haven't done yet, which I will do now, is I'm going to add, do I want white? No, I'll use the pale pink. I shall use the paler pink this time. So this one is called Carnation. It's another Dina Wakley one. What you can do, which is another thing the palette knife is good at, is add additional texture to your piece. Now there is something called Eyes Inks, which I haven't yet managed to get hold of, but they are on my wish list. And they are, I believe that they're a type of glossy paint that you can use. And what you can do with that is start to use it over the top of layers. I'm just going to get rid of that orange. And I'm going to, in here, very simply, I'm not damaging my plate doing this. This is just to add some texture. Okay, and then I'm going to pop this back on and see if we can get some texture onto there. Right, not so much as come on. I'm going to put another layer of that. I do really want that pale pink. I've managed on that layer to lift, I rather like it. And you see how I've lifted a whole load there. And that's off this bottom edge of my plate. I rather like that. Right, so this one, because I've taken more of the other paint off, is coming out more pink. And then I'm just literally, I mean, you can use what you want to make the shapes. I'm just doing this because it's easy. It's a nice simple way to make patterns. And it doesn't matter that they're not entire, it's just adding texture to the piece. Right, I think that needs one final slightly darker layer, and I'm going to go back with another pink. And then I'm thinking this could well be the last layer, but who knows? Right, so fingers crossed this is going to be the final one. Yes. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, so if I give this a quick blast, oops, just move my gel press out of the way and give this a quick blast. So if you compare the colours, I've used very similar colours. It's the same range of paints as I used on this, with the only addition being this Jane Davenport one. All the others are the same range of paints, so it's the same colours. It's just to do with the order that you use them in. So that is pretty much dry. Now if you want to leave it at that, you can. That's fine. Personally, I think everything looks better with a little bit of a black layer around it. So I'm going to use my stays on again, but I'm going to, instead of just going at a 90-degree angle, I'm going to actually go more at a 45-degree angle. And I'm not going to worry if it goes slightly over the top of the paint. So if I do this and add a little bit extra at the top, that's fine. It's just adding a little bit more interest to your piece. Let's do it again down here. I do love this, absolutely love it. So again, with something like this, what you can then do, which I'll do off camera because it's not exciting to watch, but you can do all around the edges of the MDF in the black. So you can see the difference of putting the black ink on versus not having it on. It just finishes off the edge, but you don't need to watch me doing the right around the edges. This is just to show you what the outside will look like. Now it's quite difficult to get in this bit, so what I tend to do is just put my pad on its side and give it a wiggle, and that means I've got the colour in on there where I want it. I think pads aren't designed to get into small spaces. Oop. Okay, so I've not done the edges on this one. I'll do them for you now so you can see the difference it makes. One thing that I do like about the stays on ink is the smell. The smell of stays on ink is just, I don't even know, it's like marzipan. That's what it is, it's marzipan. So if I just move the one we've just done out of the way and show you the two from earlier, you can see just adding edging on is leading more towards a completed piece. Now what you can do then is start adding stamps and things onto it, start collaging bits onto it. I'm not going to show that in this video. This was purely to show you how to layer up lots and lots of different acrylic paints and demonstrate it doesn't matter what the brand is. And the final piece is going to be different every single time. So there's 3 different pieces, all done with the same choice of paints. This is my run-off page from the one I've just done. Let me see if I can find the run-off page from the previous one. Which is in here? Oh no, it was in a different journal. I tell a fib. It was in this journal here. This is the run-off page from the previous one, so from these two. So you can see the colour tends to reflect what your final piece looks like. But that is a really good beginning to a journal page. And then you can start adding in lots more texture. You can start adding in your stamps onto this page and things like that. So you get 2 for the price of 1 whenever you use the Brayer, as long as you've got your run-off. I know a lot of people just do it onto copier paper and then use that, and a lot of people use the gel press with copier paper. Personally, I don't like it as much with copier paper because I don't feel the paper has enough substance in it to use effectively within my craft, so I tend to use thicker paper, card or MDF. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. I will be doing another video, and that will be around building these up then into an effective piece that is usable for home decor or to gift to someone. Please feel free to click subscribe, click the little bell so that you get notified when I put a video up. Remember to follow me on Facebook, it's Angie B Cards and Crafts. On Instagram, it's Angie Mary B. And I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have got anything that you would like me to do a video about, please drop me a line and let me know. I'm more than happy to do request videos. And don't forget that on Tuesdays you get Tuesdays 10-minute tutorials. So they're released every Tuesday, just a little roughly 10-minute video to give you a hint on how to do a specific activity within the crafting environment. Take care of yourselves, enjoy crafting. See you again soon. Bye bye.